My name is Audrey Foster, 28 years old, sitting on the couch with a half-finished glass of wine, watching movers haul out my roommate's boxes while she screams at anyone who will listen. The sound is shrill, part denial, part fury, like she still can't believe her little empire just collapsed. Her name is Natasha Bridgewater, 26. 2 years ago, we were practically strangers who got along too well for our own good. Back then, I'd just inherited a 3-bedroom townhouse from my late uncle. Nothing fancy, but a solid, sunlit property in a quiet neighborhood. I worked remote in data analytics, mostly from my laptop, and thought it'd be smart to rent out one of the extra rooms. Property taxes weren't cheap, and I didn't want to live alone. My uncle had left me not just the house, but also his property management LLC, Ridgeway Property Management. He'd told me, run everything through the company, protect yourself, treat it like a business. And I did. So when I posted an ad for a roommate, I never mentioned I owned the place. The checks went to Ridgeway Property Management LLC, and I never brought it up. Not because I was hiding anything, it just never came up naturally. That's when Natasha entered the picture. She worked as a marketing coordinator, had perfect references, and smiled like the world was already hers. We clicked instantly. She seemed normal, friendly, responsible. The first year? Golden. She paid on time, kept her space neat. We even had movie nights sometimes. Me with my spreadsheets and herbal tea, her with her endless gossip. For a while, it actually felt like I'd found a balance. Then 6 months ago, balance became chaos. Enter Devin, her boyfriend, 29, charming in the way men get when they're more talk than action. At first, he was just visiting on weekends. Then it was most nights. Then suddenly, my fridge was emptier, my Wi-Fi slower, and my couch permanently occupied by a man with no lease and too many opinions. I tried to be diplomatic. Hey, Natasha, Devin's been around a lot lately. Maybe we can talk about rent adjustments if he's staying long-term. She didn't even look up from her phone. He's just visiting, Audrey. Don't be weird about it. Weird about it? I was already living with an unpaid extra roommate. But when his mail started arriving and he set up his gaming rig in the living room, I knew I wasn't crazy. He'd moved in. So last Tuesday, I brought it up again. Calmly, professionally. Natasha, this is about the lease terms. 3 people means 3-way rent. Devin either goes on the lease or limits his visits. She exploded. You don't get to control my life. This is my home too. I just stared at her, trying to remind myself not to raise my voice. I'm not controlling anything. I'm talking about fairness. Her jaw clenched. You know what? Fine. The lease is almost up anyway. You can leave. I'll take over the lease myself. For a moment, I almost laughed. She was serious. She thought she could kick me out of my own house. I smiled slowly. Thanks for the notice, Natasha. That's actually perfect. I'll start packing. She blinked, unsure whether she'd just won or walked into something she didn't understand. Then she stomped off, probably to brag to Devin about how she took charge. That night, I made a quiet phone call. Hi, Ridgeway Property Management here. Yes, the tenant at Unit 3 just gave notice. She'll be vacating in 10 days. Could you prepare the move-out inspection paperwork? And with that, the real game began. The next 72 hours were pure theater. Natasha went full queen of the house mode. She made a chore chart with only her and Devin's names on it, rearranged the living room, and even posted in our mutual friend group. Room opening up soon. My ex-roommate is leaving. DM me if interested. She left a sticky note on my door that said, Please schedule your move out so we can deep clean your room. Her confidence was impressive. When I got home from my morning coffee run and saw them measuring my bedroom walls, Devin said, We're thinking of making this an office. I just smiled. Cool. So, when are the movers coming? Natasha smirked. Monday. Make sure you clean properly before you go. Perfect. Friday morning came, and so did the official notice. Natasha was flipping pancakes in the kitchen when the doorbell rang. She opened it, and a man in a suit handed her an envelope. Natasha Bridgewater? Yeah? You've been served. She froze mid-spatula. It was a 10-day notice to vacate from Ridgeway Property Management LLC, citing unauthorized tenant and lease violation. She laughed, an empty, shaky sound. This is ridiculous. You can't scare me with fake legal papers. I took a calm sip of coffee. They're not fake. I'm calling the landlord right now, she snapped. Be my guest, I said. She dialed the number listed on her lease, the number to Ridgeway Property Management. Put it on speaker for dramatic effect. Ridgeway Property Management, this is Claire speaking. Hi, yes, I need to speak to the owner. There's been a mistake. Someone sent me an eviction notice. Can I have your address? Unit 3 on Ridgeway Lane. One moment. Oh yes, we received notice that you'll be vacating in 10 days, per your own request. What? No, my roommate is leaving, not me. Your roommate? You mean Ms. Foster? Yes. Ma'am, Ms. Foster owns the property. The silence that followed could have filled a cathedral. Natasha's face drained of color. You're the landlord? Yep, I said softly. But you pay rent. To my own company. Tax purposes. This is illegal. Everything's in the lease. Company name and all. You never asked. Devin's mouth hung open like he'd just realized gravity worked both ways. And that was only the beginning. The next morning, Natasha woke like a general rallying her troops. She rearranged the living room furniture again, this time with precision, as if she were staging a magazine shoot. Devin hovered, cluelessly holding a tape measure, waiting for approval. Meanwhile, I stayed in the kitchen, sipping my tea and watching, as calm as a storm before it hits. We're thinking of putting the couch over there, Natasha announced, pointing like a commander. Interesting choice, I said softly. I'll take notes. She blinked, irritated. Her confidence wavered slightly, but she pushed forward. She posted another message in our neighborhood chat. Room opening up soon, ex-roommate leaving. DM me if interested. It made me smirk. Poor Natasha. She still thought she had control. I spent the day documenting everything. Pictures of her new office plans, screenshots of her texts, even a short video of her measuring my walls, as if she owned them. I didn't have to do much. Chaos was her signature, and I was just the quiet archivist. By evening, she started getting sloppy. Devin left for work, leaving her to stew. She stomped into the kitchen, grabbed a sticky note, and slapped it on my door. Please remember to schedule your move out so we can clean your room properly. Her smirk didn't reach her eyes. I smiled back calmly. Already done. Monday. The big reveal came Friday. The doorbell rang mid-morning. Natasha ran to answer it, expecting perhaps a friendly delivery or a new roommate inquiry. Instead, a suited process server handed her an envelope. Natasha Bridgewater? Yes? You've been served. She froze, spatula midair. Slowly, she tore it open and began reading the 10-day eviction notice. At first, she laughed. A shrill, disbelief-laced laugh. This is ridiculous. You can't scare me with fake legal papers. I sipped my tea, unbothered. They're not fake, I said softly. She grabbed her phone, dialing the number on the notice in a panic. Ridgeway Property Management? I need to speak to the owner. There's a mistake. Ma'am, we received notice that you'll be vacating in 10 days per your own request. What? No, my roommate is leaving. Not me. Your roommate? Ms. Foster? Yes. She owns the property? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Foster owns the property. The silence was electric. Natasha's face drained of color, as if someone had pulled the rug out from under her. You're the landlord? Yes, I said quietly. But you pay rent. To my company. Everything above board. Everything legal. Her jaw tightened. Devin's mouth hung open, a mute witness to the revelation. The calm before the storm stretched for the weekend. Natasha, now fully aware she had been scheming against the actual owner, became desperate. She tried to take control in every way she could think of. Changing the Wi-Fi password in my name. Attempting to cancel utilities. Posting misleading messages on neighborhood forums. Calling me a predatory tenant pretending to be a roommate. Charles, my boyfriend, called mid-afternoon. You sure you want to handle this alone? If I let someone fight this for me, she wins twice, I replied. You're incredible, he said softly. Just be careful. I smiled at him over the phone. Careful wasn't my goal. Precision was. By Sunday, the tension was unbearable. Natasha's arrogance had collapsed into frantic scheming. She even tried to convince Devin to move out with her, appealing to his loyalty. Devin, for once, seemed uncomfortable. He'd watched this drama unfold like an audience member, and now he was realizing how deep he'd dug himself into a mess he couldn't escape. Every night, I reviewed my notes, checking boxes. Unauthorized tenant? Documented. Lease violation? Written notice served. Social media defamation? Screenshot saved. All of it, building toward the inevitable, the eviction day. By the end of part 2, Natasha had fully revealed her true colors. She was no longer just a mischievous roommate. She was a self-styled queen, trying to run a kingdom she didn't own. And quietly, I felt a thrill, not of revenge, but of anticipation. The final act was coming, and I was ready. She wanted to own what she never built. She thought kindness was weakness. She was wrong. Monday morning arrived with a weight in the air. Natasha didn't just wake up angry. She woke up strategizing, like a general preparing for total conquest. And this time, she brought reinforcements. Her older sister, Camilla, 31, self-proclaimed legal genius, though she sold insurance for a living. They burst into my living room, Natasha's hair still wild from sleep, Camilla's heels clicking like war drums. "You took advantage of my sister, living here under false pretenses," Camilla barked. "False?" I raised an eyebrow. "How so?" You're defrauding her. She thinks she's equal here." I stayed calm. My tea waited for no one. "Ma'am, here's my lawyer's card," I said, placing it carefully on the table. "Everything else is already documented." Camilla glared, Natasha fumed, and Devin hovered awkwardly like a child caught between two sisters arguing over monopoly rules. Natasha tried another tactic: guilt. "I can't find a place this fast. You're heartless." I listened quietly, then asked, softly, "You tried to evict me from my own house. I'd say the heartless part is on you." Her face twisted in fury, disbelief, and confusion all at once. That was the moment I realized chaos was her only language, and it was running out. By Tuesday, she became reckless. She changed the Wi-Fi password that I had purchased and set up, called the utility companies, trying to cancel accounts. I calmly called back and confirmed that all services were under my LLC, unauthorized access noted. Posted a warning in the neighborhood Facebook group, accusing me of being a predatory tenant pretending to be a roommate. I screenshot everything. Even Devin stayed quiet. He'd vanished most evenings, probably avoiding the spectacle, leaving Natasha to spiral. Meanwhile, I watched from the quiet of my office nook, noting each move. Every act of chaos became evidence. I kept thinking about why this felt different. This wasn't just about eviction or money. It was about boundaries, respect, and finally standing up for myself. For years, I'd let people walk over me. I had been quiet, accommodating, the nice one. But now I was deliberate, measured, untouchable. Midweek, Natasha went nuclear. She glued the lock on my bedroom door. She tried to throw a farewell party with 20 people without permission. She knocked on neighbors' doors, whispering lies about me being a slumlord in disguise. Neighbors like Mrs. Rodriguez, calm, grounded, wise, just shook their heads. "I've known Audrey owned the house since day one. You need therapy, Natasha." Natasha's face, red and angry, turned toward me. I sipped my tea, quietly satisfied. Even her parents, Jorge and Linda, got dragged into the chaos, arriving midweek to demand answers. When they learned the truth, that Audrey owned the house, had followed every legal step, and that Natasha had tried to deceive everyone, their shock was palpable. "You tried to evict your own landlord?" Jorge asked. I thought," Natasha stammered. "No, you thought you were clever, but you were reckless." Her world was unraveling, piece by piece. I spent the nights preparing. My phone displayed a list that read like a battlefield report. Unauthorized tenant? Documented. Lease violation? Official notice served. Social media defamation? Screenshots. Property damage? Photographed. By Friday, Natasha's arrogance had collapsed into desperation. Devin, for once, looked embarrassed, clearly seeing the extent of her mania. In the quiet, I reflected on how far this had come. What began as a small irritation, a messy roommate situation, had turned into a study in human behavior. Entitlement, deception, and aggression collided against calm, methodical patience and truth. She wanted to own what she never built. She thought kindness was weakness. She was wrong. Eviction day arrived like a slow-moving storm. Natasha had spent the weekend gathering last-minute allies, friends, neighbors, even a few clueless acquaintances, convinced that sheer force of drama could change reality. I watched from the kitchen, sipping coffee, knowing full well that reality had already tipped in my favor. Every threat, every scheme, every manipulative move she had tried to pull was documented, verified, and undeniable. The first blow came when the movers arrived 3 hours late. Natasha, desperate to assert control, began barking orders. "Move my stuff first." "No, the fragile boxes stay up front." I calmly stepped forward. "Everything will be moved according to the order of the lease. Your items, yes. Devin's gaming setup, not yours. He abandoned it, so it stays until he claims it personally." Her face went pale. She frantically grabbed her phone and called Devin on speaker. "Devin, come get your stuff now." "I'm at work. Can you schedule with the movers?" he stammered. The movers exchanged glances. The officer supervising the move, Officer Kent, gave Natasha a polite but firm warning. "Ma'am, if he is not a tenant and these items are not yours, you cannot take them. You need to vacate now." Natasha's screams echoed like a toddler throwing a tantrum, but the law and documentation was firmly on my side. The next hour was almost surreal. Natasha tried to manipulate neighbors, claiming I was a fraud and she was being wronged. She attempted to charge me with harassment, falsely claiming I was threatening her for rent. She glued the locks on my bedroom door again, forcing a locksmith call, which I documented thoroughly. Each attempt failed spectacularly. Each move she made added to the mountain of evidence stacked against her. By mid-afternoon, Natasha's parents arrived, Jorge and Linda. They had been dragged in by their daughter's frantic texts, hoping to mediate. When confronted with the truth, their faces mirrored shock and embarrassment. "We raised you better than this," Linda whispered, mortified. "You tried to evict your own landlord," Jorge said quietly. Natasha had no response. The facade of control, the smoke and mirrors she had relied on, crumbled completely. Meanwhile, Devin returned quietly to retrieve his gaming setup. The man who had been a silent witness to the chaos finally faced reality. "I didn't know it would get this bad," he said. "You were here when she tried to kick me out," I replied evenly. "I thought you both were on the lease," he admitted, embarrassed. "Nope, and now it's clear." He grabbed his things, apologized quietly, and left. That was it. No theatrics, no loyalty to drama, just reality. By the end of the day, Natasha was exhausted, humiliated, and cornered. The movers had taken everything she legally could remove. The locks were repaired, the Wi-Fi restored. The house, once a battlefield, now smelled of calm and order again. I transformed her room into a home office. Devin's former gaming corner became a reading nook. Peace had returned. 2 weeks later, the final act of justice played out quietly. Natasha's security deposit didn't cover half the damages she caused. Her defamation attempts, Facebook posts, and neighborhood lies were neutralized by my documentation. Even her attempts to enlist Devin's father as a lawyer backfired. He was a dental hygienist. The most beautiful part? Natasha was quietly blacklisted in the local rental community. She had burned bridges, alienated friends, and exhausted every trick she thought would work. Karma, silent and precise, had entered the chat. And now, standing in the peace of my reclaimed home, I realized something crucial. The house had always been mine. The chaos had only revealed it. I sent a final polite message to Natasha. "Thanks for the notice you're struggling. As previously communicated, all correspondences should go through Ridgeway Property Management LLC. Have a nice day." Then blocked her. No drama, no manipulation, no more entitled chaos. The townhouse was mine, free of roommates, free of false claims, free of entitlement. And somewhere out there, Natasha was still telling her story, a story that didn't match reality. I poured myself a glass of wine and smiled. 2 weeks had passed since the eviction. The townhouse was quiet again. Audrey Foster, 30, finally felt the weight lift from her shoulders. The chaos, the screaming, the false bravado of entitled roommates, all of it had been swept away, leaving her home and her peace intact. I sat in my newly transformed reading nook, a soft light spilling across the shelves I had dusted off myself. Devin's gaming setup was gone, replaced by stacks of books and a cozy armchair. My office, once Natasha's claimed kingdom, was now a sanctuary. I allowed myself a slow exhale. It wasn't just the house I had reclaimed. It was something deeper, a realization of boundaries, control, and self-respect. For years, I had been the quiet, accommodating type, the one who let others' chaos spill into her life. But the past few weeks had been a lesson. Patience, precision, and calm resolve outweighed rage and entitlement every time. And what of Natasha? Word traveled fast. Her claims of a predatory landlord were refuted effortlessly. Friends, neighbors, and even rental communities had heard the truth. The roommate who tried to run someone else's life had been undone by reality. She had returned to living with her parents, struggling to find a rental, borrowing money from her sister for deposits, working evenings just to make ends meet. Each move a quiet reminder that entitlement has consequences. Devin? He quietly disappeared from the chaos. I heard later that he apologized to a few mutual friends, quietly owning the embarrassment of being caught in the storm. For me, life returned to its measured rhythm. I still worked late nights on spreadsheets, planned meticulously, and brewed my tea just so. But I had learned something invaluable. Standing firm, documenting truth, and keeping calm could transform what felt like helpless frustration into undeniable control. The townhouse itself became more than a property. It was a testament, a symbol of order over chaos, patience over panic, and ownership over entitlement. A week later, I received a text from an unknown number. "Hey, Audrey, this is Natasha. I know things ended badly, but I'm struggling to find a place. Could you reconsider? I'll pay full rent and Devin's gone, please." I smiled, letting the phone rest on the table. Calmly, I typed a reply. As previously communicated, all correspondences should go through Ridgeway Property Management, LLC. Have a nice day. Then I blocked her. Some lessons are best left unlearned by others. And so, peace settled into my home like sunlight through the blinds. The townhouse was no longer just a space. It was a fortress of dignity and quiet victory. The chaos had passed. The entitlement had failed. And I, Audrey Foster, had emerged unshaken, unbent, and untouchable. Sometimes the best revenge isn't loud. It's simply letting truth and reality take their course.